Okay, hello and welcome to the Sorare Gallery Builder episode 2. In today's episode, I've got the main man that is Quinny 3001. Quinny, how are we doing?
I'm great, Harry boy. Thanks for having us.
Of course. No, thank you for being my my second guest of this new series that I've started. In today's episode, lads, we are going to be building a £500 gallery on Sorare. Last episode, we did £200 with Georgie, who was the creator of the series, and we're eternally grateful for him coming to me with that idea because, yeah, it's turned out to be great. The reception on the first video was excellent, so thank you for that. Also, referring to that episode, Georgie was the winner of that episode. I think there was 17 comments referring to his gallery being the best compared to my 15, so I did lose. Meant that I had to give away a card, but Georgie was so nice, he ended up giving away a card as well. So we've given away 2 cards to the same comment, and that was to Not So Narrow Cast. Sent in the cards, he's received them. The same thing will happen in this episode, so after this episode's gone out, you guys need to pick whose gallery is better, myself or Quinny's. And yeah, whoever's gallery is the worst will have to give away a card to one of you guys in the comments. So make sure you give an explanation why you think Quinny's gallery or my gallery is the best option to go with. And yeah, that's kind of it really. Quinny, you've built your gallery already. I'm really excited to hear about it and to see it, of course. So we're going to go with you first, Quinny. Give us your £500 Sorare gallery and what you would do if you had to start over again on Sorare.
The budget for this obviously is 500 quid. And like you say, this is me trying to put myself in the shoes of, I've opened my account today. I've got £500 at the tip of my finger. And it's like, what do I think would be the most fun? What would I be the most excited about trying to do? And ultimately, it would be trying to win rares. And I think potentially, if you're new in particular, maybe one of the best routes to that could be through the rare kickoff. So I thought I would try and take that kind of angle of approach. £500, I think, with the way the market's sitting now for like squad players for limiteds and maybe just some unfancied rares. There's maybe some guys out there that, you know, for 500 quid, you could probably scoop up quite a bunch. So thought I would try that strategy. And with the viewers in mind, I thought I would keep it MLS centric, since that starts off this coming weekend. Depending on when you're watching this, it's just probably happened or about to happen. And because really that season just starts. So if you took any inspiration from this, at least you've got a full season to run with it, you know, and get any sort of success out of it, because the initial part of the MLS season will be tougher because all the European stuff is on. But having a full season go at a lot of cards, even though they're about to go out of season, this is probably one of the best times to do it, really, is the quiet before the storm, as it were. So that's kind of how I thought I would tackle it, Harry boy.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I'm just thinking now, so rare kickoff, are we saying, what's that, 4 limiteds and 1 rare, right?
Yep.
Got you. And you can win rares in that, obviously.
It's also not a division I compete in. And again, for anyone who's listening to this,
same here.
That's the advantage to you, is because you can only have less than 10 rares to play this division. So me and Harry you're never going to see us in there. It's only rares paid out, and for the upcoming weekend, there's 37 of them. Only one tier 1 rare, so it's all tier 2s and tier 3s. Mm-hmm. But there's 37 cards, 1,300 entrants. So
interesting. Okay.
Not a great prize pool, but I suspect the field is probably in your favor, you know, head count wise. You know, like there's probably realistically, I don't know, I'm going to guess probably like 400 competitive teams out of that 1,300 or so, maybe 300. Yeah,
for sure.
You know,
and then
it's not going to be 1,000.
No, and then does the captain get 50% bonus? Am I correct in saying?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So makes sense. So 4 limiteds, captain rare, 50% bonus. Okay, run us through your limited contingency of this kickoffs.
So we have to take the limiteds for goalkeeper. I don't think there's any way of getting around that. There's no point getting a rare keeper in for this situation.
Yeah.
And the first keeper I thought was probably fairly priced in the market and a good shout to have a good season is Dane St. Clair, kind of old favourite on my channel. Dane St. Clair was like a bit of an under 23 prospect for like 2 minutes, but by the time he got a card and got into the team, he was 24 and not under 23 eligible. So this is a guy that has never really popped on the market, you know, because as much as he's a young keeper, he's never had that under 23 exposure, you know. So when you look at him on Sorare, a lot of people will catch him in, you know, in terms of he'll come up on some scores as a starting goalkeeper and that kind of thing. But the age profile, maybe there's still the potentially moves to Europe and that kind of thing. Maybe that puts some people off because he is still kind of youngish, you know. overall. But we don't care about that. For rare kickoff, this guy is the number one goalkeeper for Minnesota, and you don't need to worry about transfer windows obviously until the summer. And for a limited at the moment, £43 for the limited, you know. So I think for a number one starting goalkeeper, not even in the prime of his career, at a decent team, Minnesota are definitely nothing to be sniffed at. I thought he was a great shout. And then for the other one, I've been kind of bit by this bug a few times for better and for worse, right? But I'm taking two goalkeepers as a kind of 2-for-1 element, and it's Stefan Cleveland and Stefan Fry. Both get the same first names for Seattle Sounders. Now, it's very much confirmed that this is the goalkeeper situation for Seattle for as long as time will be at this point. Stefan Fry, veteran legend, Champions League winner last season at the club, won a bunch of titles. 36 years old, looks to be number one for this year, but Stephen Cleveland at 28, very highly regarded at the club and is a firm number 2. You know, combined for both of them, they're just a little bit more expensive than St. Clair on his own. And Seattle last year didn't make the playoffs for the first time in forever, so I think they're quite vastly undervalued. Seattle were kind of, you know, I always kind of think of them in MLS terms as almost like the Man United, if that makes sense. They're just like the big team that always kind of, you know, and I don't enjoy saying that, but that's just the way I think about them. So that's why I kind of fought for goalkeepers. I think that's both conferences, East and West. I forget where Minnesota are, but I know Seattle are West. And you know, for under 90 quid, 3 goalkeepers, one of them's a handcuff situation. I think that's pretty good going, Harry.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a good start. I like that. What about your outfielders then, limited wise?
So in defence, I'm going quite heavy on the limiteds with Seattle, because if you look at Seattle's squad, they've got a lot of quality and their squad is quite cheap to assemble. When you look at defence, Yaimar Gomez Andrade is a big one to add in. He's one of the best defenders in MLS, undoubtedly. £24 for his limited at the moment. Another one who's very much slept on as well. This guy's quite a utility player, but when he gets going, he can score better, as good as anyone on Sorare for a fullback. Alex Roldan, £4.50 he is at the moment. He does have midfielder cards as well. You definitely want the defender card for Alex Roldan, in my opinion, anyway. And so I think between the two of them, for under £30, you know, rock solid Jaimar, and then Alex Roldan, when you know it's a good game, or you know, when you look in and you're drilling this guy's scores, you'll see what I mean with, you know, when you see Seattle at home against a team out of form or that kind of thing. Alex Roldan's a great candidate for defence. And then I tried to go kind of like the Dane St. Clair option, tried to go with somebody away from Seattle a little bit for a bit of variety. And I think he was in for about £5 or something like that. But it's Thiago Martins at New York City. Not favoured to do amazing this season. He'll definitely play. Callens has just left. There's a wee bit of upheaval, but this guy just came in last year. So he's very firmly like in this new gen NYC we're going to see develop. And he's £7, £8 at the moment. Ball playing centre back, can get 50 plus most match days quite comfortably. Yeah. So that was the kind of the body of the defence.
I like it. No, this, yeah. I mean, I'm familiar with all three, and yeah, I mean, you're sort of, yeah. There's a Seattle stack there waiting to be exploited, isn't there? It's the defensive sort of. You could go with 2 defenders and a goalkeeper if you sort of felt the need to. If you felt there was a high probability of a clean sheet for Seattle, but we do know the MLS do like their goals galore games. So be careful on the double defensive stack. But I'd love, yeah, I think a singular sort of one defender, one goalkeeper can definitely work there 100%, if not 2, depending on matchups for sure.
Yeah. And then I think in MLS you can have a lot of fun in midfield for the kind of budget that we are playing around with. So again, keeping with Seattle, I can't not say CR7, the real CR7, Christian Roldan. Brother Alex, of course, one's American, and Alex plays for like Guatemala or something like that. I forget what country it is, sorry. It's one of those kind of rural CONCACAF ones. But Christian Roldan is like a boss midfielder. He does have he does have a bit of an injury record. I'm a big fan of him, and I do expect Seattle to be better this year. And like this guy's like the mainstay player. He can play left wing, centre mid, defensive mid, attacking mid, right wing. He can play everywhere. Does play everywhere. Is an 8A monster. Can get decisives for fun. And it's £16 or so. I think he's quite slept on compared to like João Paulo and Lodero. They're both around double the price, and they're not without injury concerns as well. And they're both older, you know. So I just fancy Roldan a little bit better. And again, to give us a bit of variety outside it. To give us a bit of depth at Seattle. First of all, again, like I say, assembling this squad for Seattle is super cheap. Rusnak is firmly like a backup in this midfield situation, I think, at Seattle, but is like a DP level guy in MLS, was a DP when he was at Salt Lake. He's a tenor at the moment, and like I say, with the injury record that is in the Seattle midfield, picking him up for a tenor. Like I say, Roldan and Rusnak together is like £26. Lodero's like 25 on his own. João Paulo's like 30 on his own. I just think that's a wee bit more of a fun build. And then to get us that variety, Harry, outside of Seattle, I couldn't believe the price of this guy's limited. Ryan Gold, the Scottish Messi, £60 for a limited. And look at that L5, 81, L15, a 68. Really creative, dribbling midfielder, attacking number 10, and takes some set pieces and stuff. Is the main guy in that team. Everything goes through him. And in MLS, we see these players in some teams, and they're very reliable to be 80-plus scorers in a victory, you know. And that's all you're really asking for with a guy like Gold. So for 60 quid, on top of that other midfield we've got there, for limiteds, I think this is like a good base. Really good base. No, I love Roldan. I've watched Rusnak play enough to know, like you said, he is DP level, and then Gold's sort of the creme de la creme of that sort of three that you've mentioned there for sure, and obviously the price sort of dictates that as well. But yeah, he's a big part of Vancouver's hope to be success this season. Yeah, for sure. And again, we get great options in Seattle for up front. So Jordan Morris is probably the best bang for buck striker in that squad. There is Rui Diaz, and I think there's maybe somebody else you would maybe consider. But at £13, Jordan Morris plays right wing all the time. The guy's an absolute engine. He's just back from a serious injury last year overall, but this guy is like a proper reliable guy, plug and play all the time. He'll never really kill a lineup, but he can definitely make them. And yeah, as I say, he's a right winger who can score and assist. He's brilliant. Recently transferred into Seattle to firmly be the backup to Rui Diaz, who does have an injury record, again, like a lot of the Seattle key players do, is Hebert of NYCFC. Firmly a poacher at MLS level. You can rely on him within 18 yards to get shots on target and get a goal here or there, even from the bench. His limited is a fiver, you know, so to have him for when Rui Diaz gets injured, I don't think that's, the strikers there, you're under £20 for a Morris that will play every game, and then Hebert is that kind of injury play. And then, Harry, wait, your eyes will fall out your head. Go for it. In this budget, the entire budget for this squad is 500 quid. Yeah. And I've still got some rares to add into this, right? Mm-hmm. But at limited level, my final cards that I would add into this, it gives me depth away from Seattle. It's Jesus Ferreira. Ooh. Right? Wow. Jesus Ferreira limited £66-70 at the moment. That's a killer. Cheap. That is it's stupidly cheap because he's everyone fears he goes to Europe, and everyone fears that he was maybe a one-season wonder, or who knows why. Yeah. But he's 60 quid at limited level, 70 quid at a push. And yeah, even if you don't fancy Morris and Hebert combining for 20 quid, getting this guy in for 70 quid is a stud, you know, so you've got, you can have your cake and eat it in some respects, you know, have a budget option that's reliable, and then you've got a guy that can do any score you need him to, you know. Yeah, no, there's players in this. I'm just sort of forecasting in my head. There's players in this team that can score hundreds on given days. Gold, Ferreira. I've seen Roldan do it. You know, that's kind of. I mean, you're not going to need 300 separate hundreds in one team to really win you a card. Maybe you will. I don't know. But ultimately, there is players capable here of hitting those really high peak scores, which is ultimately what we all want to win cards, right? Yeah, for sure. And then when it came to rares, I didn't have much money left, right? So I thought, for this to work, right, I do really need a marquee rare to make sure that this strategy, if we were to deploy it, would have a proper viable option. And at rare level, Harry, I kind of knew this guy was underpriced because he's in my gallery, right? At rare level at the moment, Lewis Morgan cries out to me as being an apex kickoff rare pick. He's currently, for a rare card now, £168, which, you know, compared to other, like this, Morgan takes all the set pieces for Bulls. He's the main guy at the team. If Red Bull win, he's done something, undoubtedly. You know, it goes without saying. Yeah. And when you compare him to a lot of these other limiteds that we've got here, even Jordan Morris is £215 at rare level. Rusnak is maybe-ish the same price, and he's on the bench. Roldan is a bit more expensive with that injury record we described earlier. Gold is 3 times the price. So I think Morgan at rare level is just brilliant to kind of drop onto a team like this. Mm-hmm. And then I've got enough budget to get another rare in here, and I thought I'll try and get somebody else in that might be really undervalued that could add into this depending on how the fixtures lay out. And it's a guy that I liked a lot from last season, and I hope he kicks on this season. Oh, it's not him, it's him. And his name is Jack Mayer, who is still an under-23 defender at Nashville, plays alongside Walker Zimmerman traditionally, and Willis, very good defensive unit there. If he is going to come into this team, his rare card at the moment is £54. And the thing about this, Harry, is like, when you're going to play Kickoff Limited, the best team you can probably get out of this list we've got here, right? You're going to have Ferreira up front. You're going to have Gold in midfield. And then in defence, maybe you've got a Ymar. Maybe you play Thiago Martins. But the option might be to play a Jack Mayer, and then you could get another great limited card in, like a Rodan or a Jordan Morris or something like that, because there's no difference in the actual score. The only difference is in the captain. So a defender, like a guy, I expect this guy to get up to being a 55 averager, you know, like one of those kind of good, solid defenders. If you look at him from last season, he does get decisives in the limited minutes he's had already. That could be a really good captain choice as a defender like that, you know. Mm-hmm. So to pick one up for, you know, like 50 odd quid, 55 quid is a great pick. But I think Morgan would be the main captain. So you put Ferreira up front, you double up in midfield with Gold, and then at the back, you're probably going with either Martins and St. Clair, or you maybe go with Seattle if you fancy them with Fry and Ymar, or Fry and Alex Rodan potentially. I think that's to run the MLS season in rare kickoff, Harry, with that rig out for 500 quid, it feels like good fun.
It does, and I'm just sort of thinking in my head as well, not only are you sort of, the goal and the priority is to, you know, put your best sort of cards in that, you know, that rare kickoff to, you know, win more rares. Obviously, we've only got 2 in the gallery, but then also the fact that you've got multiple goalkeepers means that you're able to throw out another team, whether that's a Champion America limited team or an All-Star limited team. There is a lot of ETH available now in that All-Star limited. I think it's top 300 maybe win some sort of Ethereum payout, or you can obviously go to cap 240 if it fits as well. So, you know, the fact that you've got you've basically got 2 starting goalkeepers there, obviously one being a handcuff. You know, if everyone's fit, you are probably able to throw out 2 lineups every week there, one being the kickoff, and then choose your next best. 240 limited, either All-Star limited or Champion America limited, basically, right? No, I like it. I think it's a clever little way around. It's very different from my strategy, but that's the beauty of these videos. They're just blueprints. They're blueprints for sort of newcomers and even, you know, old comers that have been playing the game for a while and kind of want to refresh their sort of strategies and whatever. But no, I'm really on board with that strategy. I really like it. I like the contingency of the Seattle boys, but I like the add-ons as well, the Ferreiras, the Morgans. They're decisive players. They're players who are, you know, can on their day and most weeks score very, very well. Hence, they're not, you know, Gold at 60 quid isn't cheap, or however much he is, but like it's a good price for a limited that can bank hundreds effectively. Set piece taker, same as Ferreira. You know, he's going to be on penalties. He's the main man. He's a DP number 9 at Dallas. So I think that every week you're going to be in with the chances of something in those 2 sort of lineups that you could get out. And I'd be interested to see how that gallery would get on in this upcoming MLS season.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'd back it to do pretty well. It'd be good fun if nothing else.
Yeah, for sure. And if there is injuries, you know, you do have backups. That's probably one thing that I've sort of neglected maybe in my gallery, looking at it, you know, from that perspective. Yeah, you've got a bit of depth. Yeah, if there is injuries, you can sort of come in and out of players and play backups and whatever. Just so you're in the mix every week, basically, is the goal, right? Yeah. So that is Quinny's £500 gallery if he was to start Sorare again as a new user. We're going to move on to mine. I'm going to tell you my strategy first, then we're going to get into the players. So £500 this week. We did £200 last week. I followed a similar sort of pattern, but I've added in a bit of an MLS contingency because obviously, you know, Europe is fading out now. We're almost in March, and those European leagues do tend to sort of finish, you know, April, May, or late May for the most part. So you're going to want to sweat over the summer, right, Quinny? So that's kind of what I've done. I've tried to split things up. And my strategy going into this £500 gallery is as follows. I'm going with a Bundesliga Pro lineup, a Premier League Pro lineup, a La Liga Pro lineup. So that's me done for my Pro lineups. Three Pro lineups plus an MLS lineup to go into All-Star Limited. So we'll go with the Bundesliga Pro lineup first. If you don't know, if you're brand new to Sorare, the Pro lineups and the Pro sort of division is basically you get to use 1 common card and 4 limiteds. The main sort of strategy that everyone deploys here in terms of how it's cost effective is to get or to use your common goalkeeper and then buy 4 outfield limiteds to go with that common goalkeeper, right? It's exactly what I've done. So for the Bundesliga Pro lineup, I'm going with Gregor Kobel in goals as my common, so I don't have to buy him, thankfully. In defense, I'm going with a Rafael Guerrero, and he is going to set me back £27. I'm then going to go with an Emre Can. Let's see if we can find him. We can, and he's only going to set me back £10 all up front, and as our extra as well. Sorry, we're going to go with an Andre Silva, and I know you're going to be happy with this one, a Timo Werner Leipzig forward stack. So that's basically going to be our Bundesliga Pro team. Kobel in goals, Guerrero to go with him as our our BVB defensive stack. Emre Can as our midfielder anchor, and then Andre Silva and Timo Werner for the goals up front. That sets us back £93 altogether, and the cap comes in at 266. So for these pro lineups, you have to have a team that's under 270 points, for the L15s combined. This comes in at 266, with the Kobel as well. So we're just underneath that 270 mark. I think this team wins rewards, if I'm being completely honest. Like, we're talking. We're not talking the creme de la creme of Bundesliga, but we're talking just underneath, aren't we? Really, we haven't got any Bayern players, but we've got the next best, Leipzig and Dortmund. They're both playing, really well at the moment, and I think price point wise, Silva for 22 quid, Werner for 33. I think there's value in it, to be fair, and I think you could win some decent rewards in this Bundesliga Pro division. I think there's 200 awards given out every week, and I think there's roughly 2,000 participants. So it's a 10% prize ratio, and I would expect a team like this on weeks where where they both have good matchups. For example, this week Leipzig at home to Frankfurt, and Frankfurt are playing obviously midweeks, and then Hoffenheim have been quite an easy fixture this week for this year. In the Bundesliga. So I expect Dortmund to score quite a few goals here, even though they're away from home. And this is the type of week that I think you could pick up rewards, to be honest. And the goal of playing these pro divisions is to effectively win your limited goalkeepers, is kind of the way I would look at it. You've got killer outfielders to go with that common for now, and then I think ultimately this could then turn into a champion Europe team at some point if you do end up winning that Bundesliga goalkeeper that could go with it. So that is the Bundesliga Pro team out the way. Prem team, we're going with the Fulham defensive stack, Quinny. We're going with Tim Ream, the Dream, in defence.
Okay.
To go with Bernd Leno as our common, who's been scoring, well, I don't know if you know, but Tim Ream has been absolutely on flames recently on Sorare. In midfield, we're going to go with a fan's favourite of James Ward-Prowse. Front, we're going to go with Willian. I think Willian comes in at like 14 quid, which seems stupidly cheap for how he's been scoring recently. And then up front, we're going to go with a bit of a weird one here. I'm going to go with Iheanacho of Leicester. Obviously ex-Man City player. Yeah, so I am a big advocate of defensive stacks, so that's kind of why I've gone with the Tim Ream, the Dream, and Leno as our common, of course. Defensive stack. And then Iheanacho's been scoring goals of late. His L15 is really low, so he's only been good the last couple of games, hence the L5, which means that his L15 is yet to sort of pick up. And this team only comes in at £85, which is a little bit cheaper. And the cap is 264, so we're well within the 270. And again, I think on given game weeks, you look at those 4 fixtures there, Quinny, this weekend. Southampton away to Leeds, Fulham at home to Wolves. Okay, the Leicester game isn't easy, of course, against Arsenal, but they're home. They would fancy themselves to score a few goals. Villa scored 2 against Arsenal last week. There's no reason why Leicester can't score a couple at home. Again, if Fulham keep a clean sheet here, this team's on its way to something. If Ward-Prowse can do what he normally does and whip in a free kick or whatever, and Willian, he's on set, he does take set pieces as well. And if Iheanacho, he's not the type of AA forward that's gonna, score you 90s without a couple of decisives, but I think he's always in with a shout of getting a goal. And for 85 quid, I think this is good fun.
No, I like both those teams a lot. particularly thinking about the Werner and Silva, like combined, they're cheaper than Jesus Ferreira.
Yeah.
And then, that team is 80 quid. And again, I think gold is like 70 quid, or something.
Yeah.
So good bang for a buck, man, for sure.
Yeah. Well, of course, obviously, like we mentioned, the European leagues are sort of finishing. So, they're at the back end of things, really. So, the prices are going to be a bit cheaper than, the MLS sort of main players, I guess, on paper. But yeah, if you look at it that way, you're getting you're getting an 85 quid team here for the same price as almost, just one Jesus Ferreira, which is interesting. Going on to the La Liga Pro, we're going to go with ter Stegen in goals, so we don't have to buy him because he is going to be a bit expensive for us. In defense, we're going to go with Andreas Christensen, if I can find him. There he is, and he's going to set us back £25. Alongside him, we're going to go with a Sergio Canales. I did use him last week as well, so this is a bit of a lazy pick for me because I did use him in my I used him in my La Liga semi-pro actually last week. To go with him, we are going to pair him with a Nabil Fekir, who is £32. Quite expensive considering his recent form, but he does fit into the cap, so that did help, sorry. And then as our extra player, I didn't really know that this existed, right? But Papa Gay from Marseille has moved to Sevilla now, Quinny. I don't know if you knew. And he's been scoring excellently well. So we've got a Real Betis, Barcelona and Sevilla contingency, obviously, ter Stegen in goals to go with Christensen. And this team sets us back £97. My goal was to get a team for £100 for all three, basically. But I've come in under budget, which has allowed me to build the MLS contingency, which we'll get into. But again, I really like the Fekir Canales sort of link up. If anyone's going to score on this Betis team, decisive wise, is probably going to be one of these two or both. It's kind of the hope here. Christensen's been excellent for Barcelona. All the reports I'm seeing on Twitter, and obviously I get to watch a lot of Barca games. Being a Pedri holder, he looks phenomenal. He's sort of just, I don't know, he just looks like a new player under Xavi. Obviously, had rough spells at Chelsea, was there for a while, didn't really nail down a starting spot for an extended period of time. But for 25 quid, I'm all aboard it. And then Papa Gay, his scores of late, as you can see here with the L15 being a lot lower than the L5, haven't really caught up yet, but he's been scoring excellently well. I think last game, like a 48 AA or something stupid without a decisive. Yeah, £97, and the cap for this one is 261. So we're well underneath the 270. So there's definitely room to sort of grow into these players if they do sort of pop off for a couple of game weeks. That's the only annoying thing about these cap modes. Obviously, if one of your players don't fit in, you do have to juggle things around and maybe sell out of one and buy into a cheaper one in terms of L15s. But for the most part, I think these three teams will sort of put you in good stead for the next couple of weeks for sure. So that's the end of the pro side of my gallery. So we're going into the MLS side of things now. I've built out an MLS team for £214. I come in like £9 under budget overall, so it cost us £491 overall. But the MLS team we're going to go in with is another shock defensive stack. Joe Willis. So there's Big Joe Willis, who is the goalkeeper of Nashville. And we're going to go with Walker Zimmerman, who is a US international, who's going to set us back 20 quid. Willis, £43. Then in midfield, well, actually, let me get the extra out of the way first, because this is the boring one. I ended up spunking all the money on the midfielder and forward, Quinny, and left myself with like 15 quid to get an extra. But I've made it work. I've gone with a Daniel Lovitz. So we've got a double defensive stack, which is very prone to being boom or bust, basically. If Nashville get a nice clean sheet, you're flying. If they're not...
How much are you under the budget?
Like 9 quid.
Jack Mayer Limited is only £2.80.
Well, we can add him in.
National defender I picked.
We can add him in for a bit of depth. We'll definitely do so. In midfield, Quinny, I'm going to go with a Zella Ryan.
I was close to putting him into my team as well. He's a great price now, isn't he?
He's in at £71, or now £68 actually. Since recording this video, he's dropped £3.
Get the Jack Mayer for nothing.
Jack Mayer comes in at nothing now. But yeah, Zelarayan's going to be the main man for Columbus Crew on all set pieces. He's their number 10. I fancy him to come in hot this season, and to partner him, we're going with a Juan Hernandez. Chucho Hernandez, but he doesn't come in at Chucho on here, which is annoying.
I think it'll be a big year for Columbus as well. They've just taken on the manager from Montreal last year, and I think they've I think they brought somebody over from Montreal as well. I can't remember who exactly, but they've let Jonathan Mensah go from defence, and I think it's I think Columbus are geared up to have a really big year. I've had Zella Ryan as a rare. I had as one of 100 from the first season. There's maybe some people know, maybe some of them won't, but Zella Ryan is like multiple 100 capable. You know, he's a huge player in MLS top. You know, he's one of the few guys that goes up there with Mukhtar and Heel. You know, he's in that breath, you know. And I say I was really close to adding them into my build, but I went patriotic and picked gold instead because they're kind of about the same price. But Zella Ryan's maybe a bit more attractive for sure, just because of that history of hundreds in MLS over a longer time.
For sure, yeah, there's definitely, past sort of success there. And then, Hernandez is now into the gallery, so our data was bugging out a little bit. Sort it out, nice. Laird, if you are watching. £72 he comes in at. Okay, for some reason, Sorare data is bugging out on me a little bit. I want to add the Jack Mayer for £2 into our gallery, but it's not allowing me to do so, just for a bit of extra Nashville depth. But that's basically my gallery, Quinny. The idea is obviously to sort of win rewards from the Pro, Bundesliga, La Liga and Premier League lineups. I'd like to think that a couple of them will pop off over these next sort of say 10 to 12 game weeks until the season ends. Ideally, you win a goalkeeper. If you don't, then you try and sell what you don't need and sort of turn it into goalkeepers, limited goalkeepers that is, so then you can sort of hit the ground running next season maybe and jump into maybe Champion Europe or All-Star Limited. And then the goal for the MLS team is to basically compete on the All-Star Limited scale for the summer. I think this team, like I said, could definitely compete for some decent rewards. There's 300 ETH rewards now on offer in All-Star Limited, as well as the cards on offer, which has always been sort of great. Yeah, there's a lot of players playing All-Star Limited, 10 to 20,000 for the most part. But I think with a team like this, you've got some heavy hitters over the summer. And for me, there's no reason why a team like this couldn't pop off on given game weeks when Nashville do keep a clean sheet and when Columbus Crew do score 3 and Zella Ryan's involved and so's Chucho. So I'd be pretty confident going into game weeks with this MLS side. What's your thoughts?
I know, I agree. I think you've done really well to kind of get a bit of that European flavour of the stuff that we're all kind of messing about with at the moment, with also covering that so rare reality of when the European off-season happens, you will probably regret not having a couple of guys for a couple of quid lying around for when you need them, sort of thing. So I think when you're going through the builds, I was thinking, how's Harry getting all this in for 500 quid? But I think you've done very well, like to get those European teams built, not rely on the goalkeeper and use that excess budget to build a summer off-season team, essentially, So I think that's a really good build. And when you look at the SO5 arena these days, like I'm looking at it now for the weekend. I know it's the semi-pro division, but they've been doing this for all the semi-pro and the Pro 270s for the league-specific ones. But this weekend in the semi-pro for La Liga, they're doing jersey giveaways, for different spots and whatever. We've seen them do it with Premier League tickets and Pro 270 and semi-pro. We've seen some tickets, I think, in Serie A and the same kind of thing. So having, what was it? We had Bundesliga, Prem and La Liga. If you're playing those free 270s, man, you might luck out and grab a ticket, grab a jersey, grab a something that's a bit wacky and wonderful that, for this build and everything else that it'll be doing for you, to get a wee sprinkle out of one of those divisions could be sweet.
100%, yeah. There's that added sort of real life utility as well. The Sorare, seem to be offering in these odd game weeks and stuff, which is great. So yeah, lads at home or ladettes, comment below who you think's gallery is better. If you think it's Quinny's, give me a reason why. If you think it's mine, give me also a reason why. We're going to count up the comments. Whoever wins or whoever loses will have to give away a limited card to one of you guys in the comments. Please also do leave a like on the video. It would be greatly appreciated. And if you're not subscribed, please do. Same for Quinny. If you have not seen Quinny, that would shock me. But if you haven't, go subscribe to his channel. Fellow Sorare content creator. Great overall guy. And yeah, you're just going to have a good time if you're watching Quinny's content. So yeah, lads, thank you for watching. And yeah, that is the end of episode 2 Sorare Gallery Builder.